everybody a round of applause for today. Again, it's my job to keep this moving, so again, welcome to the Lewis Wilson Sr. Facilities Administration Building renaming ceremony. Yeah! Welcome, family, friends, loved ones. Today is a recognition of Mr. Lewis Wilson Sr. for his dedication and commitment to Prince George's County Public Schools and the Facilities Administration Building. The Facility Administration Building will be known as, you want me to preach? Known as. Dr. Golson didn't used to seeing this side of me, but I'm going to preach this morning. But it's known as the Lewis Wilson Sr. Facilities Administration Building. This is outstanding. Let's all stand and do our presentation of colors and Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's give Dr. Henry Wise Junior High School a round of applause. You can be seated, thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask our interim Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Monica Golson, to come up and bring greetings on behalf of the school system.
Good morning. Welcome. We are so honored to have you here today. Before I bring greetings, I wanted to thank, I invited a special guest here today, and that's Dr. Kevin Maxwell, the previous superintendent for Prince George's County Public Schools. It was important to have him here today because he is the one who began the process of making sure that today became a reality. We cannot forget from whence we've come, and so I wanted to make sure that he was here to celebrate in today's festivities. Whenever you're creating an event that you're honoring someone, you want to make sure you do it with honor and integrity and in a way that fulfills the legacy that Mr. Lewis Wilson Sr. provided. And I sure hope today is just an indication to you of how much we have truly appreciated his dedication and commitment to our school system. Mr. Lewis Wilson Sr. worked for Prince George's County Public Schools for 36 years. That's amazing. He's a graduate of Frederick Douglass High School. Of course, another mecca of excellence. And I had the honor and privilege of serving as a principal there. But at the same time, while he was in school, he also began doing custodial work while being in school. And what's interesting is that even now today, we have come full circle in creating a pre-apprenticeship program where we have students now who are working to get their high school diploma and to begin their hands-on experiences so that we can, once they get their technical skills assessment, rehire them back into the school system. And who would think that 36 years later, how he started is where we are now and landing. And so you never know how much your work and effort is going to affect generations to come. And so because of him, we have started the first pre-apprenticeship program in the state of Maryland and Prince George's County that will allow us to do that. Once Mr. Wilson graduated from Frederick Douglass High School, he started to take college-level courses that allowed him to propel and move up in the area of plant operations and became the first African-American director of plant operations in 1976. He has opened the door and set the path for all of us to be able to serve in the roles of leadership that we serve in today, and that includes me as well. With the Facilities Administration Building, we'll be able to continue his legacy. But what's even more important, that we're able to continue the legacy with his own family members who continue to give back to Prince George's County Public Schools. We have his son who participates, he was the Central High School auditorium technician and is also the coach for the varsity basketball team at Dr. Henry A. Wise Junior High School. Let's give him a round of applause for that. And his grandson, Lewis Wilson III, also serves as a junior partner in our human resource division, so thank you. One thing my family has taught me is that at the end of the day, all you have is your name and your legacy. And so every day I know I work extremely hard to give 110%. That's the same thing that Mr. Lewis Wilson Sr. did as well. And so because of that, he leaves a legacy that we all are honored and privileged to be able to follow in. So I hope you enjoyed today's ceremony as we begin the process of honoring someone who's dedicated their entire life to a school system that I am extremely proud of, and he is as well. Thank you.
You know, I'll take some special privileges. If Dr. Maxwell, if you want to make just a few comments, you're welcome to come forward.
So I will make just a few comments. I've known the Wilson family feels like my whole entire life. Mr. Wilson Sr., Lewis Wilson Sr., was a great person. And his son and I, Lou, have become very good friends. We worked together for a good number of years at Central High School, and I want to reiterate what Dr. Golson said about coaching at Wise, because when he left coaching in Prince George's County Public Schools and went to some private school, he will tell you not a year went by that I did not harass him about where he belonged, which is here in Prince George's County Public Schools. The Wilson family is a great contributor to this community. They deserve to be recognized. Their father deserves to have his name on this building because he made a difference for our school system. He made a difference like everybody in this room makes a difference. And I just want you to know how important I thought it was to make sure that we honored him and that we continue to honor his family, that we continue to honor our community, and that we continue to honor our employees and our people. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Mr. William Selman, president of Local 400, to come forward, please.
Good morning, everyone. Mrs. Wilson is sitting here in the front. If you don't know, this is the lady behind the man.
Okay.
Dr. Golson stole my speech. Everything I had to say, she said it. But I could say this about Mr. Wilson. I always called him Mr. Wilson. People called him Lou. People called him Big Daddy, Papa Lou, Boss, all of those names. But I always referred to him as Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson gave me the opportunity to work starting back in 1970 and to be under Mr. Wilson. He was a mentor, a true leader. He did so much for this community back in the late 50s and early 60s. This was a farm community. It wasn't many jobs for the people in Upper Marlboro, but he opened the doors for so many people. His family is my family. We grew up together. Lou Jr., we played ball together. We did so many things, but Lou Wilson Sr. as director, he changed the lives of, I can't tell you how many people that he walked the walk, he talked the talk, he was a true leader. You know, you walk in his office, sometimes you be afraid to walk in because you know how Mr. Wilson was. Mr. Wilson had no cut card. Back in the 80s, I became vice president of the union. My first case, I goes into Mr. Wilson's office. He said, "What you want me to do with this guy?" I said, "I don't really know." He said, "Well, just sit back. Let me handle it." Mr. Wilson, the words he used, I can't use today. But when he finished, he told the young man, he said, "I don't never, ever want to see you in my office again." And, you know, Mr. Wilson, you know, and me, you know, being a young man, kind of cocky, interviewed for a couple jobs, couldn't get the promotion I want. So I went to Mr. Wilson one day and I said, "Mr. Wilson, what am I doing wrong?" He said, "You're just not ready." I walked out the office. I didn't say anything to him, but when I got outside, I said, "How does this man know whether I'm ready or not?" But in the years after, when it was my time and he was right, when the right time, he knew every employee. I just couldn't understand how this man knew everyone, knew their family, knew something about each and every one of his employees. You're talking 1,500 employees at that time. He knew something about each and every one. He could tell you stories about each individual family. I love him. He was the man. It will never be another Lou Wilson. He raised me to become president of Local 400. And he also raised Sam. He's the director now. I can't give him too much credit for that, but but we all worked under Mr. Wilson. Great man, great leader, great person. I just can't say enough. It was an honor. And so many nights I called the house. That was before cell phone. So he would answer the phone. He goes, "Man, you interrupt me and Florence." What? Every time I called him, every time he always told that same story to me. But he was just great. He was just a great person. It's an honor for me to be here this morning, just to be able to mention his name, say a few words. Lou was the greatest. Thank you.
Good morning. Before I start, I got to tell you a story about Lou Wilson Jr. We were opening a new high school a few years back. First one we've opened forever. And we needed somebody to open the auditorium, so I went to Lou and I said, "Look, I need you to open this new auditorium." He said, "No problem. All you got to do is make me the basketball coach." I figured, how hard could that be? Well, turns out I could have probably made him principal, but getting him the basketball coach job was impossible. And that's when Lou went on to the private school for a little while. Good morning. I'm Sam Stuff. Now I'm Director of Plant Operations. Myself and Bill Selman started this process to rename our training center. And I want to thank his family, because when we approached his family about it, they said, well, that's nice, but we want you to name the facilities building after him because that's where he worked. And I'm glad you did that, because it never dawned on me that I would be able to pull this off. But because you asked us to do it, we asked Dr. Maxwell, and he said, sure, because the building is in Marlboro, and that's the one that should be named after him. So I want to thank his family for bringing that to our attention. If it hadn't been for them, we would be naming another building after him right now. So thank you very much. I have to tell you, I began my career in 1991. By the time I got here, there were several African-American directors. We started this process because Mr. Wilson was a great man. I had no idea that he was the first African-American. We found that out when we formed our committee. We started having conversations about his legacy. That came to approach. So I'm kind of embarrassed to say I had no idea what I was starting when I did this, but the intent here was because he had a profound effect on my life and the lives of everyone who's worked for him, and I thought that this was something that needed to be done. And I have to tell you, give you a little history. I met Mr. Wilson because we reorganized this facilities. My department was jammed into his department. He didn't choose me. He didn't pick me. I wasn't one of his guys. He wasn't a mentor to me. Matter of fact, truth be told, I don't even think he liked me at first. I got to be honest with you, because plant operations was a tight-knit group, and you didn't just walk in there. You had to earn your way. But the man had such a profound effect on my life in a short period of time. I only worked for him for 3 years. That he changed my life both professionally and personally, that still lasts with me today. And the people that have worked for him for a long period of time understand what I'm talking about. He was such a great individual because Lou was just being Lou. And he wasn't trying to make a great person out of me. He wasn't trying to turn a leader into me, but just being around him, that influence is what changed my life. I can remember the first time I saw him when he walked in the room. I said, man, this dude is John Wayne. That's what I saw when I saw him. He walked in, he had a presence in the room, and everybody listened to him. You're going to hear things about Mr. Wilson. He took the custodial staff. So when he took over, the custodians were just janitors. Nobody talked to them. They just came, did their job, and went home. With his influence, he turned us from janitors into custodians into building supervisor. And today, most schools, most principals that are know what they're doing, they're building supervisors as part of their administrative team. Nothing happens in that building until they talk to us. And that's all a result of Mr. Wilson. And I can tell you, he only did one thing. He taught us all to care. He taught us to care about the kids. He taught us to care about our coworkers. And he taught us to care about the job that we did. And if you care, nothing is insurmountable. We've done things that I could not believe we were able to pull off time after time after time after time. Lou was able to get us together and get things done for the school system that would just blow my mind. And it was because we cared. It's easy to get out of bed when there's 3 foot of snow on the ground. It's easy to get out of bed in the middle of a storm to go do what you have to do if you care about what you did. And the biggest thing that Mr. Wilson did for all of us is taught us to care because he cared about us. And it's my pleasure, and I'm so proud to be the person to help initiate this process to name this building after Mr. Wilson because he deserves it. Thank you.
At this time, I would ask family members to come up and make some comments, whoever that is going to be.
Boy, I thought I was going to sit back and just enjoy this legacy and the honor and the privilege that we have today. I just want to, thank the Prince George's County Public Schools for honoring my dad and our family with this monumental task of naming the building after him. I think it's an awesome, awesome thing. You said everything. He worked here in Prince George's County Public Schools. He went to school here in Prince George's County. He lived 4 or 5 miles away from
man that I loved that made such an impact on me, and he made me feel very, very special, but he made all of you guys and everyone feel very special. So just thank you very much. Thanks from his family. Thanks, Ms. Wilson and the family that shared him with me so equally, and I don't know how you guys lent him out to so many of us, but you did, and I thank you for it.
Good morning, family and friends. First of all, I give thanks to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for being here and allowed me to be here. And I thank you all for coming out for such a special occasion. Louis, I'm going to tell you, but I'm not going to stay long because I'm going to tell you a lot of stuff. But one thing about Louis, when he was working, he didn't bring his work home. He waited until he got on the job. He told me about these things later after he retired, that what was going on. I could tell you about a lot of these things, but I never mentioned it to anyone. So I just saying to y'all, thank y'all for coming out and doing such a beautiful, y'all look so sweet out there. So I just thank y'all for just coming out and give God the praise this morning. Thank you so much.
In the rapture of life and of living, I lift up my head and rejoice. And I give thanks to the great giver for giving the soul of my gladness a voice. In the glow of the glorious weather, in the sweet-scented, sensuous air, my burdens seem light as a feather. They are nothing to bear.
When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
We have a few proclamations. Representative from the Maryland House of Delegates, if we can have that proclamation, come forward. Thank you.
Hi, how are you guys doing today? My name is Mark. I'm Chief of Staff for Delegate Susie Proctor, who was also a classmate of Mr. Wilson's, and she can't make it today because she's in the General Assembly. All the delegates have to be in Annapolis right now. But it's my honor as a Prince George's County resident and of someone who was born and raised here to present this citation to the family of Mr. Lewis Wilson. Mr. Wilson, can you come up here and read this? Sorry to bring you up here. The family of Lewis Wilson Sr. Louis Wilson's dedication and commitment to Prince George's County Public Schools, the Facilities Administration Building is being renamed in his honor. One of his most memorable accomplishments was being appointed the first African American to the position of Director of Plant Operations on August 1st, 1976. Mr. Wilson's dedication to Prince George's County and public schools is appreciated. Presented on this third day of April 2019 by Delegate Susie Proctor. Thank you guys for having me.
We also have a proclamation from the Office of County Executive, the Office of Angela Also Brooks. Come forward, please.
Good morning. My name is Dwight Talley. Ms. Also Brooks sends her regrets that she couldn't make it today. She had a previous engagement. But it's my pleasure to be here to speak on her behalf. Most importantly, I also had served with two members of the Wilson family, Carlene and Darlene. And so may I ask you to please come up to this? I can present this on behalf of to the family. Well, no, in fact, I also shared a birthday with these two. And so I feel like I'm tripling there. So you both. The proclamation reads, whereas the Office of the County Executive for Prince George's County, Maryland, recognized the tremendous achievement of Mr. Louis Wilson Sr., a visionary leader who has left an enduring impact on colleagues, staff, and the Prince George's County public school system community. And whereas Louis Wilson Sr. was raised in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, and educated in Prince George's County Public Schools, PGCPS. In 1959, he graduated from Frederick Douglass High School and began his employment with PGCPS as a night custodian. Mr. Wilson worked during the day and attended community college in the evening. And whereas Mr. Wilson was an inspirational leader who helped countless young people with job opportunities and career readiness training. He helped others achieve career goals with the Prince George's County public school system and the entire community. And whereas his commitment and dedication to PGCPS led him to move up the ranks from night shift custodian to director of plant operations, becoming the first African-American director of PGCPS. Louis Wilson Sr. remained a director until his retirement on July 1st, 1995. Now, therefore, I, Angela Also Brooks, County Executive for Prince George's County, do hereby recognize and honor the legacy of Louis Wilson Sr. and proclaim that the Facility Administration Building of Prince George's County Public Schools be renamed the Louis Wilson Sr. Facility Administration Building on this third day of April 2019. Further, I applaud the contribution made by Louis Wilson to PGCPS and the community and encourage the citizens and residents of Prince George's County to recognize the Facility Administration Building of Prince George's County Public School as the Wilson Senior Building. Angela Also Brooks, County Executive.
Okay, we have a gift presentation, is that right? If Dr. Golden and myself can come up. Yeah, we're up.
So we'd like to present the family with a plaque to have in their home that says, "This building is dedicated in honor of Mr. Wilson's service, commitment, and exemplary achievement in becoming the first African-American to hold the position of Director of Plant Operations for Prince George's County Public Schools on April 3rd during this renaming ceremony and ribbon cutting." Thank you so much.
In the rapture of life and of living, I lift up my head and rejoice. And I give thanks to the great giver for giving the soul of my gladness a voice. In the glow of the glorious weather, in the sweet-scented, sensuous air, my burdens seem light as a feather, they are nothing to bear.